Think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists, but they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
Karoline Leavitt had just unleashed an $800 million legal bomb. And this time, Whoopi Goldberg was caught right in the center of the storm. What began as smug jokes and sarcastic grins on live TV had suddenly erupted into the courtroom battle of the decade. Karoline wasn't flinching, not even a little, and that sent waves of fear through everyone at The View. The second her legal filing hit the public, the entire media industry spun into chaos. Inside those legal papers, Karoline didn't hold back for a second. She accused the hosts of The View of spreading outrageous lies, trashing her name, and using their massive platform to tear down anyone who dared challenge their opinions. This wasn't just a lawsuit, it was a full-on declaration of war. And nobody looked more rattled than Whoopi Goldberg. The bold, smirking host who once ridiculed Karoline on air had vanished. Behind closed doors, insiders whispered that Whoopi was scrambling, frantically reaching out to Karoline for a private talk to smooth things over before the trial exploded. "She's panicking," one ABC insider confessed. "Whoopi's on the phone non-stop, calling lawyers, PR teams, old contacts, begging to sit down with Karoline before it all goes public." And this wasn't just emotional panic. It was a calculated move. ABC executives understood the stakes. This wasn't only about money, it was about reputation. And the evidence against them? It was growing by the minute.
Goldberg chimed in too, suggesting Leavitt only got her job because of wokeness.
Oh. Yeah, I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
This country that we're in was settled by indigenous people, right? And yet they named the country after an Italian white man, Amerigo Vespucci.
Yeah.
That's what America is named after, Amerigo Vespucci, a white European. Why is it named after a white man?
Well, let me ask
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
Behind the scenes, insiders say Whoopi pulled her co-hosts aside and reportedly said, "We need to fix this. Fast. We didn't think she'd push back this hard." But it was too late. The damage was already done, and the firestorm was spreading fast. Meanwhile, Karoline wasn't cracking under pressure. She wasn't running to social media or begging for interviews. No, she stayed silent, sharp, and let her legal papers speak for her. And that silence, it echoed louder than any news headline. Her supporters exploded online with support. This is what real courage looks like. One viral tweet read, "No more bullying from daytime divas?" TikTok and Instagram were flooded with posts, and suddenly, old clips of Whoopi's controversial remarks resurfaced with a vengeance. The producers at The View scrambled to take back control, but the damage had already sunk in. Viewership dropped like a stone, advertisers pulled back, and ABC execs were stuck in emergency meetings, desperately trying to plug the holes. But nothing worked. This wasn't just about an $800 million case anymore. It was about a toxic culture laid bare. Former guests started speaking up, claiming they too were ambushed or mocked on air. "They set me up," one anonymous figure revealed to a major outlet. It was never about honest dialogue. And now, even Hollywood and media insiders were switching sides. Politicians, actors, influencers, people who'd never even watched The View, suddenly had something to say. Karoline's lawsuit opened the floodgates, and people came pouring in. While Whoopi scrambled behind the scenes, Karoline's team charged ahead like an unstoppable machine. Legal commentators on every major network warned, if she wins, the entire media industry is about to get a wake-up call.
ABC News President Kim Godwin saying in a statement, "Effective immediately, I am suspending Whoopi Goldberg for 2 weeks for her wrong and hurtful comments. While Whoopi has apologized, I've asked her to take time to reflect and learn about the impact of her comments."
You know, when you're a certain age, you use words that you know from when you were a kid or you remember saying, and that's what I did today, and I shouldn't have. I should have thought about it a little longer before I said it, but I didn't.
Whoopi tried to keep her cool on camera, but off-screen, the pressure was breaking her down. In a tense hallway exchange, she was reportedly overheard whispering, "What if she doesn't let this go? What if this explodes?" Too late, Whoopi. It already had. One backstage crew member shared a shocking moment. Whoopi breaking into tears after filming. She just sat there, head in her hands, they revealed. She kept repeating, "This isn't what I wanted. It wasn't supposed to blow up like this." But it was far too late. Karoline was standing firm. The whispers kept growing louder. Whoopi was desperately trying to connect with Karoline's legal team. She asked for a one-on-one, a Zoom call, even offered to apologize in person. But Karoline's camp, not a single word. No email, no reply, just silence. And now, The View was drowning in a full-scale PR nightmare. Every major outlet ran the same bombshell headline. Whoopi begs for mercy while Karoline holds all the power. The woman they used to ridicule was now in charge. And Whoopi, she could feel it. Karoline's support kept growing by the day. Political leaders, media figures, influencers, people from every background stood with her. "This isn't just legal action," one legal analyst tweeted. "This is a cultural reckoning." Even some of Whoopi's loyal viewers were having second thoughts. "She went too far," one longtime fan wrote online. "I've always admired her, but this time she really messed up." And in the world of TV, that kind of shift is devastating. Behind closed doors, ABC's top brass reportedly jumped on an emergency late-night call. Their mission? Save Whoopi, save the network, and somehow convince Karoline Leavitt to end the war before everything crumbled. But her legal team instantly shut it down. "She's not chasing a payout," one insider confirmed. "She's demanding accountability."
President Trump's life echoed the sentiment that President Trump is a threat to democracy. And if you're a deranged lunatic and you're mentally ill, you will believe that lie. And yes, you will take political violence like we have seen in 2 instances against President Trump. Last week, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris said that everyone who showed up to President Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden was a Nazi. That's despicable, dangerous, divisive rhetoric that is spewed by the Democrat Party every single day.
And that one sentence sent shockwaves through the entire media industry. The pressure was now suffocating. Whoopi, once seen as untouchable, was suddenly exposed and vulnerable. One former coworker didn't hold back, saying, "I've never seen her like this. It's like the soul's been knocked out of her." Public sympathy, once the armor shielding The View, was falling apart fast. Online outrage had flipped the narrative. "This is what happens when you push someone too far for too long," one viral comment declared. Finally, someone has the guts to hit back. Meanwhile, Karoline said nothing publicly, but inside the war room, she was locked in. Her lawyers were collecting more proof, digging through old video segments, archived scripts, and even behind-the-scenes emails from The View's own staff. And those messages? They suggested this whole thing wasn't random, it was planned. One leaked email had the internet on fire. A producer allegedly wrote, "Let's spice things up with Karoline. She can take it." If that message is verified, it could rip ABC's legal defense to shreds. Tensions behind the scenes were boiling over. Whoopi, Joy, and Sunny reportedly weren't even speaking to each other off camera. "Everyone's walking on eggshells," one staffer confessed. "No one's laughing anymore. The energy is tense. It's just cold stares and silence." In a stunning twist, Joy Behar was allegedly overheard saying, "If Whoopi hadn't started all that mess, we wouldn't be in this nightmare." The team was turning on itself, and things were getting ugly fast. Even the live studio audience could feel it. The laughter didn't sound real. The jokes didn't land. What used to be loud debates now felt like carefully rehearsed lines spoken with clenched teeth. And behind the cameras? Pure chaos. Security was beefed up. Executives rushed in and out nonstop. Producers were whispering through headsets, frantically trying to steer segments away from hot topics. But it was too late. The scandal had grown too big to hide. Every time Whoopi spoke on air, social media lit up. People reposting old clips of her mocking Karoline, comparing them to her shaken new tone. The contrast was cutting, and Karoline's fans weren't backing down. Hashtags like Wardrop, The Mick, Karoline, Warn, Whoopi Knew, and Nash Media Reckoning were trending non-stop. And then came the biggest twist of all. An anonymous source revealed that Whoopi had personally written a letter to Karoline.
The most divisive and disgusting speech that any president, certainly in my lifetime, has ever given. He essentially waged war on half of the country by saying that we are all a threat to democracy because we believe in putting America first. It's not radical to want to put your country and your own people first. It's not radical to want to have a strong border, a strong military, and to unleash the might of your own economy, not economies around the world.
A handwritten plea, straight from Whoopi herself. In the letter, she reportedly begged for grace, asked for forgiveness, and pleaded for a chance to make things right before it goes too far. But Karoline's team didn't flinch. They didn't soften. Instead, they forwarded the letter directly to their legal department, marking it as attempted back-channel contact. That bold move sent a clear message. This wasn't personal anymore. It was war. One high-ranking ABC executive reportedly told a journalist off the record, "This is a disaster." And no one, not even Whoopi, knows how to make it stop. The lawsuit wasn't just serious. It was radioactive. Things got so intense that advisors allegedly told Whoopi to take a break from the show, but she flat out refused. "I'm not walking away from this," she reportedly snapped at her manager. "I'll face it head on." But her defiance didn't stop the unraveling. Suddenly, more voices began to emerge. Former interns, past guests, and behind-the-scenes staff, all telling similar stories about a hostile, mean-spirited environment behind The View's shiny studio lights. In a flash, Karoline was no longer just a woman with a lawsuit. She had become a symbol for every guest who'd ever been mocked, shut down, or laughed at in front of millions. And the most powerful part, Karoline never shouted, never made a public scene, never gloated. Her quiet strength shook the industry. Her silence spoke louder than any fiery speech ever could, and that frightened her opponents more than anything she might have said out loud. Inside ABC headquarters, the mood shifted from panic to paralysis. Ad sales were slipping. Audience trust was cracking. Even insiders began to ask out loud, was The View now too toxic to survive? One board member reportedly broke the silence in a leaked email, writing, "If we don't fix this, The View won't make it to next season." It was the first time anyone dared to speak the unthinkable, and it sent chills through the whole company. Producers were now editing every script line by line, scrubbing out anything spontaneous. No more unscripted moments. No more off-the-cuff debates. They're censoring themselves now, one insider admitted. Not because they want to, because they have no choice. And while The View tried desperately to patch its sinking ship, Karoline Leavitt was quietly changing the rules of the game. Her case wasn't just a headline, it was a spark, one that set off a firestorm in every newsroom across the country, about power, accountability, and the price of unchecked arrogance.
She'll be great. She's young, but she's wise beyond her years, and she has access to the president, which is something someone didn't have, and that would be the person in the last 4 years until towards the end when they would let her have access. And also, Karine Jean-Pierre would say that Joe Biden was running circles behind the scenes at the White House. That absolutely wasn't true. And if you want to trace directly how all of the Democrats lost, you can go right back to the biggest lie was that one, and they perpetuated it from there. It reminds me of when Mark Cuban said that the president doesn't surround himself by anybody smart. And Joy Behar and those guys, of course this was going to happen. This is why conservative women just have to move on, do their thing, and not worry about the criticism from folks like that.
So, how you feel?
I'll start.
Yeah, go ahead.
My takeaway is that the system works. We live in a democracy. People spoke. This is what people wanted. I vehemently disagree with the decision that Americans made, but I feel very, very hopeful that we have a democratic system in this country. We should value it. We should love it. We should protest if the situation arises.
Suddenly, watchdog groups jumped into action. A formal investigation was reportedly launched to uncover whether The View had a deep-rooted pattern of bias. This wasn't just a lawsuit anymore. It had exploded into a full-blown regulatory scandal. And just like that, the panic turned into dread. Could The View survive this storm? Was this the end of a show that once ruled the daytime airwaves with swagger? Then came the bombshell that rocked the entire studio. Karoline's legal team officially filed a motion for discovery. That meant they were coming for the receipts, internal memos, old emails, and even sworn testimony from the hosts themselves, including Whoopi. Whispers turned into full-on panic. "This is the end," one terrified junior producer reportedly cried out. "If those emails go public, it's over." Years of private conversations, strategic mockery, and insider jabs were all about to come back, and nobody knew just how damning it would be. A longtime network veteran didn't sugarcoat it. ABC isn't even thinking about the money anymore. They're terrified of the fallout to their name. This kind of scandal sticks, and it sticks forever. Meanwhile, Whoopi was still pleading behind the curtain. "We can fix this, can't we? We can settle this quietly, right?" But Karoline had already made her decision. She wasn't here to negotiate. She wasn't here to smile through the slander. She was here to make sure the truth came out. And the public? They weren't just watching. They were cheering her on. Influencers, lawmakers, and top legal experts all chimed in. "She's not only defending herself," one analyst stated. "She's standing up for every person who's ever been laughed at, twisted, or silenced on national TV." Every single day, Karoline's silence made her more powerful. No press conferences, no social media rants, no drama. Just one powerful message, clear as day. You don't get to crush someone's name and walk away like nothing happened.
I don't care if he's pooped his pants. I don't care if he can't put a sentence together. Show me he can't do the job, and then I'll say, okay, maybe it's time to go.
I just leave. I go home. I go home to my life, and I take care of my cat and do all the stuff I'm supposed to.
Meanwhile, Whoopi reportedly broke down during a show rehearsal, tears streaming as she whispered, "I didn't mean for this to happen." But those tears came far too late. The damage? It was already done, and it couldn't be undone. Then came the final blow, another devastating leak. This time, it was a behind-the-scenes video clip that shook the internet. In it, a producer could be heard telling a host, "Push her buttons, let's make it go viral." Within minutes, the internet caught fire. Headlines blared across every screen. The smoking gun? Viewgate exposed? This changes everything. It was no longer just rumors or accusations. This was real proof. Karoline's case didn't just look strong now, it looked unstoppable. As ABC's top board members scrambled in emergency meetings, their legal team reportedly gave one last piece of advice: shut The View down before Discovery uncovers even worse dirt. The once iconic show that prided itself on bold conversations had now become a massive legal risk. That night, the entire nation held its breath. Would ABC say something? Would they admit fault? Would the show be canceled for good? Eventually, a carefully worded statement was released. "We are reviewing the current programming landscape and prioritizing respectful dialogue moving forward." In other words, they were surrendering. But Karoline didn't gloat. She didn't tweet. She didn't even smile for the cameras. She let the silence speak louder than any post ever could, because this wasn't about attention. It was about setting a limit the media couldn't cross again. And now? Sure, The View is still on air, but it's different. The laughter is hollow. The passion is gone. And behind those smiles, there's fear. Fear of slipping up, of saying the wrong thing, of becoming the next scandal. Karoline Leavitt didn't just win a case, she made history. Not with rage, not with revenge, but with quiet, unshakable resolve. One woman, one fight, and one stunning victory that ripped the curtain off a media empire built on mockery. In the end, Whoopi Goldberg didn't just beg, she collapsed. And Karoline? She stood tall, because when the cameras fade and the lights go out, only the truth survives.